You're watching Newsday TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Bufa. A Dix Hills man has been charged in an alleged murder for hire plot. Now, prosecutors say Navdeep Singh promised $100,000 and 10 acres of land to a business associate to kidnap, torture, and kill a rival. Authorities found out about the alleged plan when the would-be hitman reported to police. Now, if convicted, the 48-year-old could get 25 years in prison. And only in Newsday, former Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano is asking a judge to delay his resentencing. His attorneys want to give the Supreme Court time to look at the case. An appeals court recently overturned 2 of the corruption charges he was convicted of. Now, he's been serving a 12-year sentence. And the Federal Aviation Administration is investigating the use of a police helicopter at Jones Beach last week. Check this out. The Nassau police chopper was used to break up a crowd. The FAA is looking into whether or not that violated altitude rules by flying so low over the beach. And a popular South Shore diner is reopening after being damaged in a kitchen fire. Owners of Peter Pan Diner tell Newsday they hope to reopen in October with a more modern look. The menu will also be revamped, but will keep the diner foods that people love. The fire happened last July. And Uncle Giuseppe's is expanding into Levittown. The Italian grocery store will be moving into the former King Cullen location on Hempstead Turnpike. The company says it's expected to open in late 2026. All right, now let's take a quick look at tomorrow's weather, shall we? It was gloomy today, clouds overhead, and look at that, we have more of it. Tomorrow we have some light rain, clouds overhead, and temps in the 70s. The $254 billion state budget has new limits, making it harder for taxpayers to know what they're paying for. Newsday Albany reporter Michael Gormley explains more.
The idea of this is that it would make more elements of the state budget, which is $254 billion, make more elements of it out of reach of the state comptroller. Under the Constitution, the state comptroller is supposed to be a monitor of spending by the governor and the legislature. It also made it more difficult to have analysts, independent analysts outside of government, who are very important to the media and to the general public to analyze these budgets. There were other elements of this as well that just made it more difficult to assess the real spending that was going on. And these were taken out under the budget that was approved by Governor Hochul and the legislature. There were also elements that continued into this budget that past governors, particularly former Governor Cuomo, had done to the budget to make it more opaque, less transparent for the public who actually pays for all of this to analyze. And the governor makes it clear that they're doing everything that they're legally required to doing.
Now, proposed cuts could leave Long Islanders recovering from addiction at risk. Virginia Huey has the story.
I am 143 days sober today.
Erin Hiller of Shirley says she's winning her fight against alcohol addiction thanks to the long-term recovery program at Phoenix House. Medicaid pays for it.
Medicaid has literally saved my life, and the proposed cuts to these benefits and the Americans that so desperately need them is an absolute travesty.
Hiller is among patients and substance abuse advocates speaking out against extensive Medicaid cuts in President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill Act. The Congressional Budget Office says the bill will increase the federal deficit by $2.4 trillion over a decade, but Republicans dispute that number. The House narrowly passed the measure last month, cutting $700 billion of Medicaid funding over the next 10 years. The Senate votes next.
These programs some will close, and every one of them will be taking fewer people, and they're on short of a shoestring.
The proposed cuts come as fatal overdoses dropped nearly 32% statewide last year. The result, experts say, of increased prevention and education programs and the wide-scale availability of Narcan.
It's too late for my son.
Carol Trottier's son, Alex Sutton, died of a heroin and fentanyl overdose in 2018. Narcan wasn't widely available back then.
And it just breaks my heart to think that included in these proposals is less Narcan, when I believe that the decrease in overdose deaths is definitely due partly to the distribution of Narcan.
If the Medicaid cuts go through, CN Guidance and Counseling says its mobile recovery unit, which provides substance abuse treatment and mental health counseling at 4 sites across Long Island a week, will be forced to wind down its operations.
Clients would have no access to care, and that's what we're afraid of.
As for Hiller, she's hoping Congress will reconsider the cuts because she says her recovery depends on it.
To think that you don't even have the opportunity to try to get better, that's detrimental to everyone.
For Newsday TV, I'm Virginia Huey.
Now, there is escalating tensions over the Trump administration's deportation efforts here on Long Island. Andrew Enger was at a protest in Westbury.
A loud but peaceful demonstration in Westbury Sunday morning, near the site these protesters say where federal immigration officers recently arrested migrants who were just visiting businesses along Prospect Avenue.
It is really awful to see them snatching away people from our communities.
We're not criminals, we're here working, minding our business, but we need help.
Sophia didn't want to show her face or give her full name to protect relatives and friends who she says could possibly be a target for ICE. She says many are now living in absolute fear after the federal agency recently ramped up efforts to find and remove immigrants who may not be in the U.S. legally.
There's a lot of people that I know who are scared to come out, which is sad. Can't even go wash their clothes at the laundromat.
That fear, she and others say, is paralyzing the migrant community on the island, keeping people from going to work and living their lives. Daniel Lozano, who was born in Colombia, says his U.S. citizenship took 18 years to be finalized.
These people are only working for a better life. It's very sad and it's very dehumanizing, especially for someone like myself.
Some of those who came are encouraging state lawmakers in Albany to pass the New York for All Act, which would limit local police interaction with immigration and customs enforcement.
Long Island's legislators need to know that this is something that's happening right here. It's happening to their community members, and that they need to take action because the community here is angry.
Demonstrators say this protest came together organically without a lot of planning, and they expect to have more of them in the weeks and months ahead.
I'm a Long Islander, I was born here, I was raised here. I know we don't all look alike, but we all really just trying to do the same thing,
In Westbury, Andrew Enger, Newsday TV.
Now, to read more about this story, go to Newsday.com, click Get More, the Newsday TV video box.
Great to work for a team right here in my backyard.
I'm here at the Nassau Coliseum where Freeport native Morgan Taylor is accomplishing big things in the sports industry.
I'm VP of Business Operations for the New York Liberty and the Long Island Nuts. With the Long Island Nuts, I oversee the whole business, so that's from ticketing, sponsorship, marketing, community relations. And on the other side, with the Liberty, I help with more strategic vision and planning, and also with event management.
Working in sports has always been Taylor's dream, though she initially hoped that would mean being in a uniform on the court.
I played basketball growing up here in Long Island, and I love the sport. I played AAU. I aspired to be in the WNBA. My senior year, I tore my patella tendon, and I knew that maybe my playing career would be over, but I would go to a strong D1 program and figure out how the operational side of the business would be.
During her time at George Washington University, Taylor wanted to stay close to women's basketball, so she became the equipment manager of her college team and even worked in operations with the Washington Mystics.
I wanted to stay really close to the women's side of the business. It was really important to me. The camaraderie, a sisterhood, a friendship. I wanted to continue with that. I majored in finance, and while doing that, I also worked as an equipment manager for our team to understand inventory and equipment and how to interact with players.
Although she faced many challenges during her journey, it was Taylor's resilience that got her to where she is today.
It was pretty challenging, working in women's sports where not everyone believes in the plight of women's sports, right? So it was hard to go against the grain every day, but, we got through it. Dream big, don't let other people stop you. Even if you hear a no along the way, just keep going, because there's definitely opportunities and resources for you to achieve your goals.
Jolie Katzen, Newsday TV.
All right, let's take a closer look at your 7-day forecast to see when this rain is going to end. So we had to deal with it for one more day, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we are dry with temps in the 80s for 2 of those days. Rain moving back in towards the end of the week, but that may change. But so far, yes, it will be dry after tomorrow, it seems.
Long Island weather is brought to you by Fire Island Ferries.
You're watching Newsday TV. For more on all the stories you've seen here today, head over to Newsday.com. I'm Ken Buffa. Thank you so much for joining us.